What's up, y'all? This is Daniel with Pride of the Southland Kennels. Welcome to episode 3 of American Bulldog TV. If you're new to the channel and you like what you see and you like what you hear, please subscribe, hit the notification bell, give us a thumbs up, share the video, and leave us a comment. So in the first video of the series, a user by the name of Top 10 left this question. I thought that was a pretty good question and worthy of a video for the series. So in the future, if any of y'all have something that you'd like to see discussed on the channel or the series, just leave me a comment. If I feel like it's worthy enough to make a video, then we'll make a video of it. If it's not worthy of an entire video, I'll try to answer your question to the best of my abilities and knowledge. So with that being said, to understand why these dogs look different, I think we gotta dig a little bit deeper in the history of these dogs and understand where these two men started from. Now, John D. Johnson had dogs years before. He had Dick the Bruiser, but I feel like Dick the Bruiser is one of the most influential dogs of the modern day of American Bulldog. And here's a picture of him. Now, Mr. Scott, on the other hand, I believe one of his most influential studs would have been Mac the Masher. As you can see, the dogs do share some similarities, but they also have things that set them apart. So one of the reasons that these dogs look so different to me is right from the very beginning, or what we're going to call the beginning, when these two guys was trying to revive the breed and make it more established. These are the two dogs that they used, and I believe when you start out with a little bit of a variance, then you're going to keep that variance. Another reason why I believe these dogs are a little bit different in types and look is because, like I said, right from the get-go, I believe that these two men had different opinions. They did breed together for about 8 years according to Mr. Scott, but I believe deep down inside both men did have different opinions from the get-go. That's what later set them apart and caused Mr. Scott to go his own way and Mr. Johnson to go his own way, is because difference in opinions of what type of dogs that they wanted to create. So on the Scott and standard type side, you got people that are involved with that side of the breed that claims that, 100 years ago, these dogs were, a big dog would be 85 pounds, where on the other hand, you got Mr. Johnson that says these dogs was always 125, 150 pounds when he was growing up. He even stated that he had a dog named Bruiser Bo that was 175 pounds and his collar size was 34 inches. 34 inches is a huge collar. If that is true, I just couldn't imagine seeing a dog that big. In an interview with Mr. Johnson in the late 90s, he did state that he felt like Allen's dogs always looked like they were more terrier type dogs, like pit bull terriers, American pit bull terriers. He said that they had cropped ears, they just wasn't as thick as his dogs. But I believe there is one important aspect in the opinion of Mr. Johnson that really contributes to these dogs looking so different, and that being that he didn't distinguish and differentiate a difference between the English Bulldog and the American Bulldog. He even went on to state in his late 90s interview that 200 years ago these dogs were the same dogs, talking about the American Bulldog and the English Bulldog. And then when they was getting these pedigrees going for these dogs, when they was trying to get them registered, they didn't have any pedigrees on the dogs. So Mr. Scott went to Mr. Johnson's property, and he told him he had some old pedigrees, old handwritten pedigrees from the dogs of his past and his dad's past. Later, for Mr. Scott to find out that they were English Bulldog pedigrees, when he was asked, did they not distinguish the difference between the two dogs, and he said evidently not. Something else to consider when we're talking about why these dogs look so different is you got to remember that when these guys was going around and selecting dogs to add to their breeding programs, there was no papers or documentations on most of these dogs. Matter of fact, there wasn't even a name on these dogs. People just called them various types of different names. So when Mr. Johnson was asked, how did you know then that you was getting an American Bulldog without paperwork, he said, you inspect the dog, you put hands on the dog, feel it, inspect it, look over it, then you test the dog. Test the dog's temperament and drive. If it passes both of those tests, then you breed it. If the dog breeds true, and produces pups that are consistent with him and the dame, then you have yourself a Bulldog. I believe at that time, with no documentation on these dogs, that's the best that these two men could do. So anybody that's somewhat familiar with these dogs knows that if you look at the Dick the Bruiser photo, that was a Johnson dog that was considered a foundation male of his, and you look at some of the Johnson dogs of today, then you have yourself a huge difference in these dogs. You really can tell looking at a dog from the 50s, looking at a dog now, even 20 years ago, you can see a huge difference. And I've heard about this and did some reading on it to see it with my own eyes, and this is what I found. David Levitt, the guy that tried to recreate the original English Bulldog, he called his breed the Old English Bulldog. What he done was he was trying to recreate that breed, and he added he bred American Pit Bull Terrier to a Bull Mastiff and tried to take that over to an English Bulldog, a modern day English Bulldog. He wasn't really successful in getting to the point where he was wanting to be, so Mr. Johnson leased him a female dog. David Levitt took that female dog from Mr. Johnson and bred it to a male AKC English Bulldog in Massachusetts that they considered to be a throwback. So what a throwback is just a dog that's produced that looks like dogs from several generations back. What this dog was he was a white AKC English Bulldog with long legs that weighed 95 pounds. I believe the standard on today's English Bulldog tops out around 65 pounds. So this was something that they considered to be a throwback, and that was going to help Mr. Levitt get to his destination on them dogs. So what he done was he took that American Bulldog, bred it to that AKC English Bulldog, and give a pup to Mr. Johnson. So what Mr. Johnson did was he infused that offspring into his lines. He took a dog that was 50% AKC English Bulldog, 50% what he considered to be an American Bulldog. Johnson bred that dog, which he says he named her Gail, to Incredible Hulk, and he created his Incredible Mean Machine line off that, which a lot of Johnson dogs come off of. That was a huge turning point and an answer to why these dogs look so different, because they had AKC English Bulldog infused in it. This is when he made the comment that he didn't see anything wrong with it, and it is in these dogs' pedigree, so I commend him for doing that. He didn't try to hide it. He was very open about it. And almost proud about it, because that's when he made the comment that 200 years ago, the English Bulldog and the American Bulldog was the same dogs. Another funny quote that I found from Mr. Johnson when he was asked about the size of his dogs and what his goal was, he said he always wanted the dog large enough that he could throw a saddle over. Where on the other hand, you had Scott and the people breeding the standards and the performance type dogs, they felt like an 85-pound dog, 75, 85-pound dog could just run a lot longer and work a lot better. When I visited Alan's yard a few weeks back, that was one of the questions that I asked him, because he had some dogs on his yard that was 100 pounds plus, and I asked him if those dogs, or if the dogs back then was as big as they are now, and he shook his head and said no. Kind of seemed a little disappointed, to be honest with you. And over time, dogs can just increase in size. I don't believe it's something that has to be intentionally done. But if someone wanted to keep their dog small at a certain size, I believe if they worked hard enough, they could do that as well, just to maintain those dogs. So thank you for watching episode 3. If I didn't answer all the questions that you wanted or was looking for, just leave me a comment. I'll try my best to answer them. Looking for topics for the next video. If you come up with a good enough topic or question, we'll give you a shout out and post your question on this video. Thank you all for watching.